Hi, I'm Poteet, and the topic of this presentation will be helmets. After all, it's a no-brainer. For today's agenda, we will discuss the history of bikes and helmets in the American culture, statistics regarding the use of helmets and health risks associated with not wearing them, as well as current laws regarding their use and what more must be done to engage the viewer to change their habits, including even you. In the 1800s, Baron Karl von Drais created the first bicycle known as the hobby horse or velocipede, which you kick to propel. In 1885, John Starley added a chain and made both wheels the same size, which provided a better ride and is almost exactly the same as what we ride today. When the standard bicycle was being invented, electric bicycles, or e-bikes, also began to be tinkered with. The first known patent in the United States was awarded in 1895, but they didn't gain popularity until the 1990s. Prophetically, in 1896, the New York Times published the bicycle promises a splendid extension of personal power and freedom, scarcely inferior to what wings would give. Bikes are standard in most coastal California communities where school buses are limited or unavailable, such as the city I live in, Carlsbad, California, and can propel you upwards of 20 miles an hour. E-bikes allow a fast, convenient way to commute to work, get to school, or just have fun. You can imagine, as soon as there were bikes, there were crashes and accidents. Though, falling on sand is much more forgiven than falling on asphalt, and there are far fewer cars, if any, on the road. The first helmets came out about the same time as the first bikes, and were made out of plants. It would take the impact once, but would need to be replaced after a crash. The next helmets, which wouldn't come around for decades, were leather helmets, which didn't do the best job, but certainly better than plants. In the 1970s, engineers started developing helmets with foam after realizing motorcycle helmets were far more efficient in protection. In the Olympics of the 1980s, the aerodynamic designs started popping up and the technology continued to grow thereafter. The helmets have become lighter, encouraging use, but the protection has become exponentially better. They can literally save your life and that of your friends and family. So, why am I even doing a health campaign on this? Because people still don't wear them. This is my son Josh. He was 13 years old at the time of this picture. He was on the ICU with a temporal skull fracture and 3 brain bleeds after crashing his beach cruiser on his way to his friend's house on Mother's Day weekend. He was not wearing a bike helmet. He survived but now has epilepsy. The statistics are staggering. Each year, 1,000 bicyclists die, 130,000 are injured, and it costs over $23 billion in life and loss of productivity in the United States alone. And it's not who you may think. The age group that has the highest bicycle deaths is 55 to 69-year-olds. Meanwhile, young adults, teens, and adolescents account for 33% of all emergency room visits secondary to bicycle injury. While deaths can occur anywhere, it is more likely in urban areas, with 27% occurring at intersections. That means 63% of deaths are not at intersections, but general areas of the street where everyday driving occurs more often. Yes, there is a higher risk for injury in 55 to 69 and 10 to 24-year-olds, but there is also a high risk for others injuring. Everyone is affected who rides a bike, has a friend or family member who does, or is a driver of a car with bikes around. The table in the background is taken from the National Health and Traffic Safety 2019 report on bicyclists killed in traffic crashes per 100,000 people. This is a preventable crisis. Helmet laws are effective for reducing crash-related injuries in both children and adults. They were found to reduce serious head injuries by 60%, traumatic brain injury by 53%, and total number of killed or seriously injured by 34%. A study by Oliver and Cretan showed that for cyclists involved in a crash or fall, helmet use was associated with odds reduction for head injury by 50%. The average cost of a child's helmet is $18, and adults are $75. But not every state has a bicycle helmet laws, and for those who do, it is often relegated to under 18 alone. Laws change slowly. Immediate interventions in the community change faster. Again, I look to Dorothy Oram and the grand nursing theory of self-care deficit. People don't want to be told what to do, even if it means saving their lives, whether wearing a mask, a seatbelt, or a bike helmet. Therefore, simply making a helmet law isn't enough. One must be taught the risk of not wearing one, much as seatbelts are used without a second thought today. Yes, it should be emphasized in provider offices and school curriculum. However, it is imperative the community be the ones to educate themselves on their self-care deficit and the children on the benefits and how to wear it properly. After all, it is their choice. As providers, we can't put it on their head for them, and this is what's out there attempting to do so now. The CDC has a Heads Up campaign, which includes a bike helmet fact sheet, which is 2 pages, double-sided, and gives tips and tricks for parents to select the right helmet for their child or teenager, as well as a video on the safe rules for it. There are videos on YouTube from parents for their child surviving a near-fatal car accident because of a helmet.
Car sent Alex flying through the air along with his pretty heavy mountain bike. When he hit the ground, witnesses ran to him. They told us that he was seizing.
But the last things seem geared towards parents for kids, which only hits one demographic, so we need to include ways to implore young adults as well. That's where this video comes in from TJ Lavin, an off-road bike celebrity.
My perception of concussion was different, way different than it is now. Brain injury didn't even come onto the scene until Mikey Aiken and people like that started getting slammed, and everybody was like, whoa, what's this?
Teens are using TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram more than other sources to relay information. So let's see what's on TikTok.
Why wearing a helmet is so important part.
There are plenty of videos on YouTube as well. Bicycle accidents caught on camera on YouTube works well as it shows all the ways just normal, everyday bike riding can result in accidents. This video was taken in my hometown, Carlsbad, California, just a few months ago. The accident a block from my daughter's school.
That isn't the only fatal bike crash Carlsbad has seen in the past week and a half.
Tonight, the loved ones of Christine Embry spoke out during the Carlsbad City Council meeting. She was killed in an e-bike crash while riding in her neighborhood on August 7th. CBS 8's Jasmine Ramirez attended tonight's meeting and shows us the changes her family hopes to see.
The last campaign to note is the one Carlsbad took up following this last wreck. Bicyclists will be pulled over and ticketed, as will cars, for not following the mandated safety guidelines on this document. As you can see here in my city, adults are required to wear helmets as well, but only in Class 3 e-bikes. Unfortunately, most of the tickets I've seen given out for not wearing helmets appear to be to minors, which is why this needs to be a multimedia, multi-generational campaign designed to hit everyone. Utilizing all of the items listed in the last slide, I would create a multi-generational, multi-platform community campaign as outlined in this community resource slide. First, at the beginning of the school year, when parents must physically come in to register their children for school, an annual requirement in California, I would ensure they were provided the CDC fact sheet, the e-bike city rules, and watch the heads-up video by the CDC, as well as Alex's story of his near-fatal accident. An administrator would have to sign off completion to register their child for school. Then, as kids came in for the first day of school from middle through high school, they would be required to see the TJ Lavin TBI video and the TikTok Helmets Should Be Worn, Woods Crash, and YouTube Big Bike compilation vlog, as well as receive the e-bike rules and physical education, having the teachers sign off completion as a graded assignment. Third, at the beginning of the school year annual back-to-school night, the personal story from our Carlsbad hometown firefighter's wife who died in a bike accident would be shown to all audience members and reviewing the rules of the road with both parents and kids together. Finally, as adults and children ride bikes thereafter, the police may fine for not wearing helmets. However, I would start a movement where those who wore helmets, whether at the skate park, road, or on their way to surf, would be given gift certificates to our local Handel's Ice Cream, Knockout Pizza, or Grubby's Tacos, thereby incentivizing behavior to all adults and children versus penalizing children as they aren't yet grown up enough to not wear a helmet. Wearing a helmet is an easy way to protect your life. I hope anyone who's watched this presentation sees their part in this health crisis a little differently and will begin to encourage best practices amongst each other. After all, wearing a helmet is just a no-brainer. Thank you for your time and attention. References follow after slides.